Okay.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all have settled down and ready for this once in a lifetime kind of session. So as I said, just make sure that you keep yourself mute, keep your phones aside, and just focus on the talk that Dr. Vivek sir is going to give us. We are expecting a lot of insights, inspirations, and motivation for all of us. So just be focused for this session. And sir, on behalf of SSTS team, thank you so very much for sparing your time, accepting my invitation. Personally, it's an honor for me to share the stage, even though it's virtual. So I'm really honored that I'm getting a chance to talk to you and ask questions directly. For everyone, I think you all have read the memo in terms of who Dr. Vivek Mansingh is, but some of you who might not have read, let me just take a moment to introduce Dr. Vivek sir. So Dr. Vivek is one of the highly accomplished innovator and leader with more than 30 plus years of global experience. Currently, he is a general partner of Yournest Venture Capital, the VC fund who has invested in us. And at the same time, he serves on board of multiple US and Indian companies. As I said, he's an innovator and holds 6 patents in US. And in his illustrious career, he has directly worked with likes of Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, John Chambers, David Packard, and Bill Helvet. So it's very rare that we get opportunities to talk to someone accomplished like him. So we are all very privileged to have him here. And at personal level, he has been a mentor and guide to all of us here at SSTS, me, Pankaj and Lalit. We have interacted many times directly. And every time we meet and talk to him, we come back motivated and inspired. So I hope you all get inspired today. So please use this opportunity to listen to him very, very carefully.
Thank you, Avinash. As we had decided, we were going to keep it as a fireside chat, correct?
Sure, sir. So,
okay. And I hope that you circulated the talk that I shared with the people, and most people hopefully have seen the talk, which I gave. Yeah, I gave it to BDO. BDO, I didn't know, frankly, the organization BDO just a month back, but I was shocked to know that it competes with PwC. It's an $11 billion corporation, which we never heard of. And so there I spoke to 3,000 people, and that talk that you have was for them. So assuming that people have seen it, or if they haven't, they can go back and see it.
Yes.
And with that in the backdrop, I said that instead of giving a talk and repeating what I have repeated there already, or in my other talks and on YouTube, there are lots of talks, you can go and check it yourself. Keep this session as a follow-on to that talk and keep it like a fireside session. So Avinash, you have shared a bunch of questions with me.
Sure.
Depends on how you want to take it. I can take live questions first, or I can start with those questions first, and then we can open it live for others. What do you prefer?
Yes, sir. We'll go through those questions, and then we can open it for live Q&A to everyone.
Perfect. Perfect. So I have the questions here. I'm going to repeat the questions so that other people know what I'm answering, and then I'll answer that. There are probably about 5, 6, 7 questions there. And after that, I'll open it to all of you. So any question is a fair game. And it is very, very important for me to make sure that every single person who is attending, and now there are almost 69 people I can see, learn something, at least one idea you take away from here that you implement. Otherwise, I have wasted my time. So it is very important that you be fair to me and make sure that at least one idea you learn from this. Okay, so let's start. So first question is that you have worked with highly successful people like Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, David Packard, Hewlett, John Chambers, and if ever you come to my home office where I'm working from, you will see pictures of all these people, along with many pictures of people you admire. We'll talk about that later. So they are asking, tell us about what it takes to work with leaders who drive excellence, who are at that level. And second question, which also is related to the same, have you ever felt intimidated while working with them? Have you felt nervous and anxious while interacting with highly successful people? If yes, how did you deal with it? So these are two excellent questions from people who have read or seen or done something with my talk. So thank you for, first of all, exposing yourself to some of that. Now the question is yes, I have been very, very fortunate, and I'm probably the only person in the world. I have not met a person yet who has worked with the likes of David Packard, Bill Hewlett, Steve Jobs, Michael Dell, and John Chambers. They are all phenomenal leaders. They single-handedly get credit for putting the Silicon Valley on the roadmap of the world, and phenomenal people, absolutely. So now, how do you work with someone like that? And how do you get noticed? See, these are very big people, and Dell, for example, had 100,000 people, Cisco has 100,000 or 80,000 people, and so on. So when you are working with these people, you have to do something that you get noticed very, very quickly. They are not sitting there waiting for spending 15 minutes with you. So that is very important part of it. What do you do if you get to interact with them? And I guarantee you tomorrow, guys, if you sit next to Narayan Murthy in the plane tomorrow, you will choke after 10 minutes. And in the 10 minutes, you will talk about something that you already know and he already knows that you know. You will not have a single question to ask him, which will make him learn something and make you learn something. Now, he also knows very well that you are asking the question for the sake of asking question. And that annoys these people very much. I'm also friends with a lot of other people that you may be knowing. Rahul Dravid is my neighbor, very close friend, and so many other people, I don't want to name them. But what happens when you sit next to Rahul Dravid? When he came to my son's wedding, obviously it's a wedding, so you can't control everyone. So a lot of people wanted to meet him and talk to him. Now, guess what questions they were asking? And I asked someone to pay notice to them. You know, they were so obvious that Rahul Dravid did not want to answer that. You knew the answer, you were just asking for the sake of asking. So, number one thing when you work with these people is be authentic, be who you are, right? And be the best version of who you are. Okay, so, and have a lot of respect for them. They are there for a reason. Many people will say that they are lucky, they are this, that, all that is bullshit. They are there because who they are, respect them. They don't like excuses and stories, right? They don't want to hear any of that. They are at that level. They are highly impatient. Okay, if you think your bosses are impatient, then multiply that by 1,000 or something like that. And they are people on mission. Okay, they are very driven people. So support them by being part of the solution, not part of problem. They don't have people who have problems. Okay, so become part of solution or get out of the way. Right? So very important. Be good at what you do. So they have to have some respect for you. Either they should have heard about you before, or you may be able to convince them in 2 minutes of your conversation that you have something that they can learn. Now, what can you teach Michael Dell or a Steve Jobs or John Chambers, right? You need to find something that they can learn something from you. These people are there because they have learned like crazy. They are like sucking information from everyone they can. So they love learning a tidbit here or there. And I think that is very, very important for you to do. Make sure you teach them something. Now, what can you teach someone like that? Not a joke, right? So I think be good in your area. Whatever you do, You need to be so good at that that you can always share information. So I always say that if you have to play cricket with, if you have to play with Rahul Dravid, play tennis. You can't play cricket with him, okay? So play tennis. Maybe you have a chance. He'll probably still beat the shit out of you, but at least you have a chance, right? So, for example, I'll tell you, when Michael Dell used to come here and I was at Dell, Michael Dell's all reviews were in the car. We used to sit next to him in the car and we'll drive to various places, and then he will review us and so on. No PowerPoint, no backup information, no laptop, and you have to be ready to answer any question that he has, right? And generally, when I was at Dell, they gave me the longest route because nobody really was thrilled sitting next to Michael for long journeys, right? Because you should have enough material to have conversation with them. So very important that you can teach. So where can I have an edge over Michael, right? India, for example. He doesn't know India as well as I know. I have been here now for 20 odd years. The business climate, the economics of India, the challenges of India, the opportunity for technology in India, the things, it's a huge area, right? I have an edge over Michael. Innovation. I have done 6 patents, I have written 2 books and so on. So I know something about it and I can have an intelligent conversation. And I can go on and on. I can do excellence. I can talk about some engineering issue and so on. I can share with him my view of the world. How many of you have a view of the world? It doesn't have to be perfect view, but do you have your view? Not what you read in a blog or read in a WhatsApp scenario. They don't want to hear that. Understand? So that is what they are. They are after learning. And then if you ever get to meet person of that stature, you better go very, very well prepared. They don't want to hear that I'll come back to you with this answer. Sorry, I do not know, or I've forgotten this number, and so on and on. Doesn't happen. So in summary, respect who they are, no nonsense, no excuses. They are highly impatient, so expect them to be, don't think that they are arrogant. Steve Jobs is famous as an arrogant person, if you read the press. But no, he's not. He's man on a mission. And imagine how impatient you will get if you have a mission and somebody is asking you some here and there type of questions or conversations. So they are not arrogant. By and large, I have found if you are to the point, they are not arrogant. They are highly driven people with high conviction, and you need to be part of solution and be extremely prepared for whatever you are meeting them. So that is the answer to question one or two. Any follow-on question there, Avinash, by you or anyone else before I go to question 2?
No, sir, just for the benefit of audience, I can tell my experience when I met you first time. You had called me to your home office and I reached there first. You were not there in the room. I saw all those images and I was almost choking, as you mentioned, that what I'm going to talk about and things like that. So it definitely is absolutely true for all of us as an individual. But you mentioned it very, very rightly that whatever you know, you have to be authentic. You asked a lot of questions, which in the first meeting, I didn't have the answer to. And that was a big learning. We got a bit of scolding as well from you, but that really kind of helped us in long term. So what you said that you have to know what you are after when you are going and meeting people like you or the people that you talk about is absolutely true. So a lot of learning for the folks here.
And be good at what you do. You may be a testing person, I don't care. You may be a programming person, I don't care. You may be an architect, I don't care. You may be a marketing person, I don't care. But I can just ask, hey, teach me one thing, what would that be? And if you're struggling to talk about even one thing that you are good at, then why should I know you? Right? Why should I know you?
So just one question. You said that, I mean, there could be situations where we don't know everything. So when we meet and when we talk, we might not be knowing everything. So how do you deal with that situation?
Yeah, it is, they are very annoyed. Let me tell you that. So, you know, if what you are supposed to know, you are not encyclopedia. They're not going to ask you population of Ghana.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but if you do not know, for example, how many people work for you? Well, 845. They don't want to hear, I don't know, actually last month there were about 800 people working in my team. Then we had open hiring and we have hired maybe about 45 people. This is nonsense. 845 is the answer, period.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe a couple of, see, there's such a waste of time for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So that is an example, right? What is the status of this release? If Michael Dell will not ask, but Jeff Clark, who's the guy who hired me, who's vice chairman of Dell, he would ask that question. Now, if it's your bloody release, if you yourself do not know the top 3 challenges of that release, why is it getting delayed? Right? So they don't expect you to be encyclopedia. They don't expect that. But what you are supposed to know, you should know, because they want to deal with people who are in control.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Then the other question is, continuing on the above, how does one build habit of excellence for individual professionals? I have heard you talk about 10,000 hours rule. How do we apply that in our professional lives? Excellent questions again. I have spoken to many places on excellence. So let me first start, right? Excellence is what world recognizes. Other than your family, friends, and colleagues, anyone you know is because they have achieved certain level of excellence. Whether it is Amitabh Bachchan or Rahul Dravid or Sachin Tendulkar or any of these people, Lata Mangeshkar, etc., they have achieved excellence. That's why you know them. And the world rewards it very well. So going in the route of creating excellence is very rewarding from a number of perspectives. So excellence is that, number one, right? What does excellence really mean? Prakash Padukone is also a very good friend of mine, right? And Prakash, if you ask, or Rahul Dravid, if you ask, it's not the fun cricket that you see on the television screen that makes them. That is what the outcome is. That's like Amitabh Bachchan's final movie and he kills bloody 30 people around him. That's what you see at the end. What happens in creating a Rahul Dravid or a Prakash Padukone is that getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, going to the badminton court, taking 200 shuttles and practicing a serve again and again and again and again and again and again, going to the other side again and again. That is how excellence is created. Not suddenly that you all like Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is not created in a day. And Virat Kohli, I can guarantee you, probably works harder than any of you at this point. Why? Because he is after that excellence. So go deep into something. That is the beauty of excellence. It requires continuous improvement. These people have amazing drive to continuously improve. Not good enough. Chalta hai, nahi hai. I need to continuously improve it, perfect it to a certain extent. And it is sometimes boring and requires tremendous discipline for you to develop excellence in your area. Whatever that area is, you develop excellence and the world will follow you, money will follow you, fame will follow you, everything. But it's not a joke, right? So excellence is that people, Rahul, for example, Rahul Dravid told me several stories. When he would get up at night to go to bathroom, he would actually practice some strokes. Right? No, there's no bat in his hand. There is no ball there, but some imaginary ball he's playing and he is practicing that shot. Right? That is the level of sort of passion, right? So excellence and passion are connected. Passion, again, I have a whole slew of, I've talked about passion as a talk for an hour. I will not go into it, but all the successful people are very passionate. Because passion is what lets you repeat this 1,000 times. When you fail, it gets you up in the morning. When you can't do something, it helps you, pushes you in that direction. So passion, without passion, you can't develop excellence. And for passion, you have to have a goal in mind that I want to be the best programmer in the world. I want to be the best architect. I want to be whatever that drives you. The other thing is what creates excellence is keep learning from the best, right? Benchmark yourself against the best. So I'll give you a simple example. When I joined Cisco, I had an admin. I forget the name now, what she had. And she came again, she was very excited to be working with me because she had heard the name and so on. So she said, Vivek, what can I do? I'm just your admin. I said, okay, go and find out in Cisco who is the most respected admin and let me know. So there was an admin sort of group, so to say, in Cisco, and she did her work and found out that these are the 3 most respected admins, one Taiwan, 1 or 2 in US, something like that. And I said, okay, now go back to them and talk to them and find out why do people really think that she's one of the best admin in Cisco. Cisco must have had, God knows, 1,000, 5,000 admins, I don't know. So she did that. And then she came back with me and said that this is what they are saying. So I said, do you now want to talk to me or do you have enough information? Now go back and work on that. She said, no, I have enough information. I'll go back and work on it. And guess what? In 2 years or so, 3 years, she became the top 5 admins in Cisco out of 1,000 or 5,000 admins. So you have to continuously, not the guy sitting next door. You are better than him. You go and compare your salary raise with him. He got 7%. I got 9. Oh, I'm great. This guy is stupid. Who cares who sits next to you? You have to be unique and one of the best in the world. In the world मान लीजिए, नहीं है तो चलिए in India मान लीजिए, नहीं है तो Bangalore मान लीजिए, नहीं तो अपनी company में मान लीजिए. Start benchmarking against somebody, and that is how excellence is created. The 10,000 hour rule is very simple. You have to repeat something for 10,000 hours to achieve certain level of excellence in it. Now, in the normal working hours, if you work 200 days and 8 hours a day, it's about 7.5 years. People who are passionate and people who you know, like Rahul Dravids and all, they are engaged with that 24/7. If you are engaged with the thought 24/7, you complete those 10,000 hours in a year and a half. So year and a half, you have achieved the excellence of a person who will normally take 7.5 years. Right? So 3 years, you have now 15 years experience. That is how these people who go up like rocket, this is what they do. Right? And yet people come to me and say, okay, I have 7 years experience, I have 10 years experience, I have 15 years. Boss, what do I do with your experience? Tell what you are good at to me. What do I do experience with that? Purely experience has no meaning. Years of experience. In India, people even tell days of it. I have worked for 3 years and 700 or 200 days, etc., etc. Boss, that is great. But now tell me, what value do you bring to the table? Right? So excellence is very important. Any question on excellence, Avinash, or anybody else?
So, I mean, one question, because we have a very young team. I mean, there are quite a folks who are attending this call are very, very young, starting early. So how important for them is to start right now itself rather than waiting for a few years and then do something about it. I think what we really want to understand is how important it is to start early.
This is good question. See, achieving excellence is a habit. It is not that you do. Some people you will find whatever they do very, very well. And some people don't do anything well, no matter how important it is. They chalta hai, this corner cut kar diya, was corner. And some people do that job so well, whether it is important or not. Japanese ethics, for example. Japanese ethics you will see. And again, we don't have time, otherwise I could tell you many stories because I have worked with Japan. it's like they are praying. Their job is like praying, whether they are gift wrapping a gift or they are controlling nuclear reactor. They are treating it as just work as religion. So it's a habit of excellence. I think at any stage you need to say that, okay, this thing I want to learn, this thing excites me, and start developing excellence in that area. And so at any stage it should begin. Right? So if you look at sports, Avinash, by 20 years they are in the India team or they are out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right? So age se kuch matlab nahi hai. Okay. Then I'll keep answering my questions and then we'll open it. I have heard your talk about personal story when you got to know that your mother was ill and she has only 6 months to live. You made a decision to leave a successful career at US and return back to India the same day. I personally think that taking such a decision needs a lot of courage and strength. How did you make up your mind to do this, right? So for those people who do not know what this question is addressing, is that I was living in Silicon Valley. I was CEO of a company that I had founded. Everything was okay. Children were going to Saratoga schools, living in a good house. Everything was great. And my mother had some health trouble, so we asked her to come there. There we showed her to Stanford Hospital, and the doctor said she has 6 months. And my father was obviously shocked and my mother was very shocked. And they were kept on telling us, no, you guys stay here. Children are doing so well, this, that. So don't worry about us. I said, no, nothing doing. That evening, I decided to come back to India. And I resigned from and without any job, without knowing a single person in Bangalore and absolutely nothing. So now the question that he is asking is, how could you make a decision like that, right? My wife was always a homemaker and a volunteer, so it's a single person earning family. So I think it's important. The only way you can make such decision is if you have the purpose of life very clear, if you have purpose or your goals very clear in your life. And so you will go to my talks actually that are on YouTube that will help you. There are multiple talks, but the one I sent to Avinash, that also covers some of this. You need to have very clear goals of what you want to achieve in your life. And they can change. So if somebody is 20 years old, both of my sons are in 25, 30 years old. So do they have to have goal? Absolutely, yes. Can they change? Yes, they can change. 5, 10 years down the road, they can change. But you have to have goals. Now, in my goals, and I'm writing a book on this subject, which hopefully comes in a year or so now, it is about having meaningful life. Meaningful life means life is not only about career, only about money. That is one aspect of it, but that is not the whole life. Right? Relationships are very important. Your fitness is very important. Your spiritual life may be very important. Your giving back may be very important. So many things in life are very important. And so for me, I have had goals, and in the book, I'll give example. In the talk also, I may have given some examples. So one of my goals was relationship. What is more important than relationship, right? And in relationships, what is more important than relationship with your parents, your children, and your spouse? And then obviously larger family and friends, and so everyone comes, but this is very important. Now, these three things are very important. So here my mother needed help. What is more important for me now? Where is career in this game? Where is money in this game? Nothing. And we have limited time. I can earn money later, but here is a limited time. So it was very clear for me what to do. I resigned as a CEO. I called the movers to move my stuff. I didn't have an address in Bangalore. I came back and we were staying at Taj, MG Road. We gave address of Taj as a moving address. And we landed here. I did not know a single person, and God was kind. Everything worked out over a long period of time. But the important thing and the question is, how could you make decision? If you know what is important for you in life, then you will never have problem. And a value set that supports that. Otherwise, most people rationalize. अरे क्या करने यार, I'll come and see my mother every 3 months. I can make a trip every 3 months, see my mother for a week, and my brother is also there. He can do that. My sister, boss, all that is BS. You have some responsibility. Find a way to deliver that responsibility in the best possible way. Period. So if your priorities are correct, if your life goals are correct, if you value relationships, etc., and if your value system is strong, you can make these tough choices. And then I guarantee you from my experience that God makes sure that everything works out. If you have a good intention, everything works out. So did I really miss anything by coming here? Yes, maybe I would have made a few tens of millions more, or maybe hundreds of millions of more dollar there. So what if my mother had passed away without us being next to her in the last, by the way, she lived 2 years, not 6 months, because we moved here, that gave her reason to live. And then my father went into depression and we took care of father, etc., etc. So important thing is know what you want from life, know how will you value your life, and have a value system that supports it. Then you can make these tough choices. Right? The problem I see, Avinash, in many cases is that people are willing to do the same sacrifice for their children, but not their parents. That is so stupid. That is so stupid. The person who brought you here, you are forgetting that person because abhi usse kuch lena dena nahi hai. Right? How transactional, how pathetic. But अपने बच्चे के लिए बच्चे को बीमारी हो गई कोई, you will go to any doctor in India or the world to show them, and अपने आपके father बीमार हो गए, तो it is expensive, it is difficult, I am busy, this doctor is good enough, that treatment is good. What is this? What is this? What signals are you giving to your brain? Some other time I'll talk about the brain and how it functions and how it actually gives you sort of direction. So that's the answer to that. So driven by very strong value set and knowing priorities in life and having goals and valuing relationships, I was able to make that decision, and I left and came back, and God was kind, everything sort of worked out well. Okay, next question. You filed so many patents early on. Creative and innovative thinking is essential to create more possibilities, etc., etc. Do you have any suggestions on how you can develop innovative thinking, etc.? So the answer is innovation. I have a full talk on innovation somewhere on YouTube. I don't have time here to go into it, but I strongly believe anyone can innovate. And I proved that at Dell. When I was head there, I made sure my whole team had a stretched goal in their performance plan that they will write one information disclosure. Information disclosure is one step before Dell decides to file a patent. So everyone has to write one information disclosure. And there was uproar when I made that goal. How can you can do that? We are not engineers. I'm working in documentation. I am working in this area and so on. And I said, okay, fine. We are not punishing you. We are just rewarding you extra if you can do that. And guess what? Every single person, including from documentation team, filed information disclosure. And my site, Dell India, became the highest patenting site in the world for Dell outside of Austin. Austin, there were a lot of people, so we couldn't do that. But we were better than Taipei Dell, Shanghai Dell, and Singapore Dell. So innovation is a skill that can be learned. How do you do that? Make it a goal, first of all. Okay, that I will do one innovation. And Avinash, I think this is something that you can challenge your team with, right? It's a great way to create excellence also, because you do something new that hasn't been done there. So I suggest that make it a goal that I'll do one innovation. Whether you file patent on that or not, that's different, but one innovation. How do you do that innovation? Well, you challenge the status quo. But do you need to know what is status quo? Most people never care to know that, right? What are the best practices? The solution that you are proposing, how is that unique? Is it really unique? Can we learn something from there? Most people don't go that far. They think whatever, and then they start proceeding with that. Well, innovation is beyond that. Innovation is, you say that, okay, this problem is solved this way. What is the best way to solve this problem? So I always tell people to find the most ideal solution to that problem. Don't worry about the constraints at this point. What is the ideal solution to this problem? Now apply constraint to that and get as close to that ideal solution as possible. It sounds simple. It is not that simple. It takes practice. It will take failure. It will take mentoring. It will take coaching for you to get there. However, make it a goal. Take a problem where innovation is important. Find a solution. Compare it to what the other best practices are. Take it to the next level, and that's innovation. As simple as that. Once you get a good idea, pursue it. Most people forget it. The other thing I've seen is people don't want to disclose it to anyone, and they don't do anything with themselves also. I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next year, and so on. So the idea dies. There is no harm in collaborating on innovation. So if you have a good idea about something you are working on, share with your team, share with your manager, and they will poke holes. They will say, this is not going to work. You need to defend it yourself and then take it to the level where it becomes truly a good idea and an innovative idea. And if the patent is filed, give the names of all the people who have helped you with that. Credit is not taken away from you. It is shared. And when collaborative innovation happens, so other than one patent of mine, no, 2 patents of mine, I think all are shared. And I stopped filing patent after I became manager. Otherwise, I would have maybe 30, 40 patents by now. But as a manager, I thought it was unfair for me to keep giving my names in the patent. So I stopped there. Patent is also 1% of innovation and 99% of aspiration. Okay, patent or innovation, it doesn't happen by itself. It takes time. Avinash, I'll keep going so that we can finish all these questions at least, right? And I'm going to speed answer some of these questions now. The next question is, you emphasize reading a lot of books. How did reading books help this career, my career? Any top 5 book recommendations for peak audience, right? So in the interest of time, let me tell you how so books, in my opinion, are the best mentors you can get. Okay, if you want to get mentor of, let's say, someone, Steve Jobs thinking, for example, or marketing or something like that, well, you're not going to find a Steve Jobs or equivalent, so you need to find a book. Book is always available, right? And these days it just shows up on your house in 2 days. So how did I cover my journey, right? So I always say this, and I'll say that read 50 books and you will become a different person. But not the story books I'm talking about. These are professional books, right? So my book journey is along with the goals that I had for me. Okay, so in US, for example, the first technical goal after the PhD, after my PhD, I gave myself is I wanted to be number 1 in my field. So excellence, passion, number 1 in the field. Benchmarking, number 1, absolutely. Well, nobody is going to make you number 1 just because you want to. So now, who can you learn from? Well, identify the guy who is number 1 in that field. Now, that guy will not talk to you because he or she is big. But what if I read their blog, I read their books, I start understanding what they do, and so on. So in the first leg of my career, I read technical books. And then like I said, I became number 1 in my field in US. Truly number 1. That's how I got to sort of work with people like Steve Jobs and so on. Avinash, you have seen the poster in my office where Steve has said, couldn't have done without you, something like that. So, first goal, become number 1 in my field, and read all the technical books that are needed to get me there, and I became number 1. Then I changed my goal, and I said, okay, innovation I want to do, and so on. So I read every book on innovation that was possible. Okay, Amazon was not there, so you had to go to Stanford Library to read those books at that time. It was even hard to buy. But then I read innovation books. Then when I moved to India, I became a leader, general manager of the India team. So I read leadership books on them. So leaderships by Jack Welch, by Stephen Covey, Elephant Can Dance, gazillions book on leadership. Then I became an entrepreneur. So I read everything about entrepreneurship. And there were so many fantastic books, Startup Nation, 0 to 1, Hard Things About Hard, so many books I read, right? Then I also read about leaders I admired. Okay, so for example, John Chambers' book, Connecting the Dots, Satya Nadala's book, Narayan Murthy's book, Nandan Nilekani's book, Dell's book, Steve's book, Andrew Grove's book, just about anyone who inspired me, I have read their book. Right? Now, if to my earlier point, if I'm talking to Michael Dell, I can talk about something that John Chambers has talked about in his book. Michael would not have read that book. He doesn't have time, but I have read that book. But I have to know it in such a way that I can have an intelligent conversation on that. Right? So those books I read. Then I became a venture capital after I retired from Cisco. I just simply what I did, Avinash, I went to Amazon, looked at the top 10 books on the venture capital, ordered them and read them all. How difficult is it? How difficult it is. And I'll tell you that I meet so many VCs in the last 3 years I have met. None of them have actually gone and read all 10 books. What does it take? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 rupees of books, and maybe 10 books. So maybe let's say 3 days a book, 5 days a book. How much? Month and a half. I have collected the intelligence of the top 10 people in the field of venture capital. Right? It's that simple. $1 trillion coach, financial. I manage my own finances, so I've read God knows how many finance books, whether it's John Bogle, Buffett, Peter Lynch, whatever. In management, I have read Built to Last and so many. So, right, you read 50 books, you will be a different person. Now, where do you start? You start from what you are doing today. You start someone who inspires you today. If Narayan Murthy inspires you, you can't go and meet Narayan Murthy, but you can get his book.
Absolutely.
Right? You cannot meet John Chambers, but you can get his book. Steve Jobs is no longer, but you can get his book. Right? So simple, so simple. So read. If you have not read before, which most people in India say that, it will be hard for you to read the book. So pick a book that is interesting first. Don't take such a complicated book that you stop reading and then you don't even read any other book after that. So pick a simple book first. So that is that. Any other tips, it says, which may be questioned from other people, but let me talk about it. Any other tips for all of us working in growing startup with ambition to become the top player in the space, right? So take pCloudy now. And I ask this question to Pankaj and Avinash all the time. Who do you compete with, right? Ask them how much hard time I've given them about competition, right? Now, why is the competition? You ask any Olympic player of 100-meter race, who are the top 10 people in Olympic race? They will tell you, tuck, 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 this is what it is. You ask Rahul Dravid, who is the top first down batting person in the world? He will know that. But in our case, in our company's case, we obviously don't benchmark us at all. So that is a very mediocre thought process. So I have made sure Pankaj and Avinash and all have benchmarked themselves against the competition quite well. After that, innovate, because ultimately that's how you are going to beat your competition. I'm talking about company right now. Each of you behave like an entrepreneur. Okay, so for a startup, it is very important that every single person behaves like an entrepreneur. You are not an employer and you are not an employee, you are not a manager, you are not an employee. It is really you are all an entrepreneur, because that's the only way you are going to beat much bigger competition than what you have, right? strategy without execution is dysfunctional. So strategy is the job where you can obviously give input to your management, no matter at what level you are. Whether that input is digested and baked into the strategy, that depends on so many other things that you may or may not know. So once you have given the idea, don't keep questioning it. Once the strategy is there, put your full weight, 150% behind execution of that strategy that the management shares with you. Right? And learn. As simple as that. Startup experience, in my opinion, is far better than an MBA experience. So people who do MBA and so on, I say just go and work for 2 years in a startup. And just become part of solution. So don't just do your job and write 10 lines of code and go. Who else is having problem? Oh, there is a bug. Oh, bug is not my part of the code. Okay, who cares? Go and solve the bug. Who cares it is your code or whoever else's code? That's the problem that is there. Rahul Dravid did wicket keeping for a long period of time. Some people would remember that. He was not a wicket keeper. But there was a problem. They couldn't do with a full-time wicket keeper. So Rahul said, I'll become wicket keeper. Now these days, the other Rahul is doing keeping, right? So you need to become part of solution. This is what it means that, okay, the team has a gap. Here is the thing. I'll go and do that, irrespective of, oh, I am the best batsman in the world and so on, and I won't do that. Then I'll get tired. Then how my batting performance will be affected. Then all that is BS. Just become part of solution. So these were the questions there. Avinash, I know we have, but I have time. So I have at least 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, the kind of knowledge that we got in the last 45 minutes, I'm sure a lot of folks here wouldn't have got from any other source. So thank you so much. Any questions you have, please feel free. I have one question before anyone else asks. You talked about culture of innovation and everyone should set a goal for innovation. I have seen a lot of people fearing the failure, that if I commit and if I'm not able to do that, I'll be treated differently. So how important is overcoming that fear of failure? Failure is part of the journey, I think.
Absolutely. So interesting question you asked. As I told you, I have started working on my book, which is along the direction of the talk that I sent you, my story and the 5 lessons that can transform your life. So my story is not important, but my lessons are important to you, right? So that is the thing. So my co-author asked me to write all the achievements of my life. So I wrote that. But then I said, look, this is giving a picture as if I have never failed. So this is bullshit. So then I wrote yesterday night all my failures in life. And there's a whole list. As good of achievement list, there's a whole list of failures. So failure is part of the game. If you are a self-confident person, you shouldn't worry about failure. If you are not self-confident, you have to work on something that gives you the self-confidence that you need. Because without self-confidence, you are not going to do well in anything that you want to do, right? So failure is part. Now, so they shouldn't fail, especially in innovation. I mean, how many people have failed, how many times? It's just mind-boggling. Electricity experiment that Benjamin Franklin did, how many times he failed and so on. So you are in good company to fail. So that should not be there. In terms of company should have the policy that if somebody has come up with an innovation and you decided that yes, it is innovation, but we still can't find a patent, I think you should still recognize him or her. But if it is not, if you find that, look, there is a current solution that is better than that, then educate that person and say, go to the next level. So failure is part of the game, right? And especially in a startup, it is part of the game. So don't fear failure. Don't fear failure. I can go on, but let me stop so that
thank you so much. I think we will give chances to others.
Yes.
If they have any questions, feel free.
Just unmute yourself and let me know. Yeah, Suraj.
Yeah, hi. So I have a question. Probably I'm a little confused here. So you made a statement that Rahul Dravid took up the role of wicket keeping because the team needed a person, even though he was good in his batting, but he took up that role and he did it at his best. Now, when I'm trying to relate that to our professional journey, right? Now, I may be good in connecting people because I'm a part of the sales community, but if there is a need, maybe in some other department, should I take up the role? Because I have a fear that I may not be good at it. So should I take up that
So
and
I
try to
didn't
explore?
say that you go and take that role. I said that you become part of solution. You jump in and help the person that needs that help, right? Rahul Dravid he will always be judged for one down batsman.
Okay.
Nobody knows how many wicket he took as a wicket keeper. Do you know that?
No.
No. So he never gave up his primary job.
Okay.
He was still the best in the world. And let me tell you, I was in West Indies and talked to so many cricket players in West Indies and of the current teams and all that. And I talked to them and I said, who do you admire most? And you'd be surprised. It was Rahul Dravid every time, not Sachin Tendulkar.
Okay.
Every time Rahul Dravid's name. So to relate, it's an excellent question. The answer is, I'm not saying you give up your job. You have your own job. Now, if there is a long-term gap somewhere and your management says that, hey, Suraj, go and do this job for 6 months, and I will assign someone else to do your job. Absolutely, yes. Understand? So there is a difference between the two.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Anyone else?
Sir, it's an amazing session. So I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask where I can follow you for the next live talk like this.
There's a lot of talks on YouTube. Just go and type my name, and there are a lot of talks of all kinds of subjects. Unfortunately, my lots of talks are before YouTube came into picture.
Oh.
So my talk on excellence, innovation, lot of talks are lost. But it is what it is. So as I said, you can join me on LinkedIn. I am not that active in Facebook and all. I rarely go to Twitter, although Twitter is so popular. You can join me on Twitter if you want, but I'm not that active there. LinkedIn, I am active. And YouTube is the best place. You can check a number of different subjects. Talks are there. Please go and enjoy and learn from that. If you have a question, definitely any questions you have, first go to Avinash. If Avinash wants to ping me, I'm happy to answer that.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks.
No problem, Ritesh. Anyone else?
Hi, Vivek. Srinivas here.
Yes, Srinivas.
It's really inspiring to hear you and the way you shared your experiences. I come from a sales background again, like Suraj. Now, we all know we are going through this pandemic and the situation being all remote connected. Now, we as an organization are evolving as a product company. So what do you think we need to do to stay ahead of the curve when the world is on a brand perception? Okay. So what do you think are the key areas for us as an organization who's evolving to follow certain things
so
which you
the
feel?
startup will always go against a brand, right? Because you are a Mickey Mouse compared to somebody who is already well established there. You are challenging a Cisco or you're challenging an Dell or whoever, right? So that is the nature of startup. And logically, startups should not work, but they work all the time. Because, there is no reason for someone to beat Cisco, but they do. And Cisco has acquired 200 companies themselves. So they admitted that you beat me here, let me pull you in and absorb you and enjoy the growth. So startups by nature, startups should not fear the 90-pound gorilla in the room. You should treat that as an opportunity. So let me tell you what I mean by that. India startup ecosystem, and Avinash has heard me a lot, so he knows my thoughts about the startup ecosystem in India. From India, a startup in completely new area is long way from succeeding, because you will have to establish the market also. Establishing market takes a lot of money, effort, time. We can't do that from India at this point. The level of funding in India, the way teams are there, the way marketing, sales, etc. is there. So if a 90-pound gorilla is there, first of all, use it as an advantage. Number 1 point. Number 2, find where this 90-pound gorilla has weaknesses. Right? So where can you hit? In Mahabharata, you know that Krishnaji tells, hit him on a place which is weak in that body. You know the thing I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
That is the role of a mentor. That go and hit here. This is where you will win. Otherwise, you can't beat him. So know where is that place, right? And 90-pound gorillas also have a lot of unhappy customers by nature, because they are 90-pound gorillas. They can't keep everyone happy. Somebody is complaining about service, somebody is complaining about price, somebody is complaining about something, and that's the opportunity. That is the weakest spot where you have to hit, right? So COVID, frankly, is a great opportunity. Why? I'll tell you. Up to now, if you had gone to a US company and say that my solution is 30% cheaper, they would have said, get lost. But now 30% money is important for them because their revenue has dried up, their profitability has dried up, right? If you're selling an automation thing that you are selling right now, solution, right? There are a lot of people they have let go. They don't want to hire them back. They are not in a position to hire them back. So if you propose the solution to the problem they are facing, that is sales, by the way. Sales is not selling what you have. Sales is sell them the problem solving solution that they are looking for right now. Right? Abhi aap dekhiye, I'll give you a simple example. How many of us go to a doctor when we are well? And do we not know what we have to do to remain health? Apne vitamin khane hai, exercise karni hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai. Do we do that? By and large, no. Right? So I think the opportunity is when things are unwell. So this is an opportunity for you. It will have new set of challenges, but doesn't matter. This is the opportunity. So when you go and get sick, you go to the doctor, then doctor says, eat these vitamins and eat this fruit and eat this thing and walk for 2 miles, you do that, right? That's the opportunity for you. And by nature, startups are like doctors. They have to do surgical strike. They cannot win in a conventional bar. Cisco has 50,000 people in Salesforce. My company, Level Networks, has 10. What is the chance? But they still succeed, right? So that is the important part. And large 90-pound gorilla has lot of dissatisfied customers. That is your opportunity. Your problem is from Mahabharata, go and see that scene and see when Krishna says it here. What is that point? Okay, other questions?
Thank you.
Sir, it's Shivani here. So you said that in a startup, everyone should be thinking like an entrepreneur. But what happens is most of the times with stringent deadlines and multiple tasks happening, we tend to become task oriented. So how do we change that thinking?
Yeah, so everything that I say that meter starts after you have done your job well. Because if we all start doing someone else's job, it is a disaster. So first you do your job well, whatever task, however much work you have, and then you see if you can become part of larger solution. I know it's difficult to do. The reason you have to think like an entrepreneur in the job you are doing yourself, Shivani, is that take full accountability and responsibility. What is the hallmark of entrepreneur? They can't go to anyone else. The buck stops with them. They are responsible and accountable for whatever they do. You think they are superhuman beings? They are also just like us. But we say that, oh no, this is a founder, so whatever we take them, they'll solve our problem. No, they are also just like us, but the buck stops with them. So when I say everyone should behave like an entrepreneur, is that you have to behave like entrepreneur, fully accountable, fully responsible, become part of solution. So for example, you needed something from a test team and you sent an email to the test team and the test team is not responded. Now you can be perfectly fine in saying that, look, I haven't heard from him, so it's okay. I have done my job. The other thing is to go to the bloody test team and say, what the hell are you guys doing? I've been waiting for this. And if the test guy says, look, I don't have you in my priority. I have other 5 things to do before I give you your result. Okay, let's go to your manager. Look, the priorities of these 3 are higher, but let's go to Avinash and see, maybe he can change the priority and then I'm able to do that. This is behaving like an entrepreneur. What do you think Avinash does when he has a problem? He goes to somebody else. But how many of our engineers go to somebody else, especially walk to somebody else? We are WhatsApping, we are sending emails. That's fine. These are important things. But I think full ownership means go and solve the problem, whatever it takes. Buck stops with you. And then if in this process, something else comes up, some other problem comes up, someone else, your colleague is struggling, go and help them. Go and help them. Work an hour that day and help that person for an hour. You do that 50 times in your company, see what happens to you. 50 bhi bahut hai. Go do it 20 times and see what happens in the company. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
No problem. What else? Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Varun sir, this side from engineering team, sir. Sir, it's really nice to hear you, and it gives us a boost to do something. Mr. If I remember the name, Mr. Sanjay Pandey, he really inspired us and tell us the stories, and we were ready to do something, and we did. Somehow we did. So, sir, my question here is like, if I have to do something innovative, and I have something, okay, I will do. And few things I have done, which is very good, but after that it will go into like in the corner. Okay, now I will stop it. Like I want to build the habit to do some good things every day. Not something like, okay, today I have done something for 20 hours and next 3-4 days I'm not doing anything. So can we do something recursively every day? Okay, 3 hours. How to build that habit to do something every day?
Yeah, I will tell you, first of all, being in a startup, see all my innovations, not a single one has come between 9 and 6. Okay. Yeah, so nobody gives you an extra time to fool around. Right now I'm writing a book. Do you think I can go and tell my board members, other board members in the companies I'm on the board, or my Yornest people that, look, I'm writing a book, so I'm not attending this meeting? No, you have to do your job first. So first do your job. Now, if after that you have time or you are willing to put the extra time, find the problem to solve, whether it is innovation or whatever else. The point you mentioned is very good, that I want to work on something every day. Every day you should improve, actually. Instead of people telling me that I have 3 years of experience, tell me what if you wrote 20-line code 3 years back in 30 minutes, can you write that now in 10 minutes? If the answer is no, then what do I do with your 3 years of experience? Okay, so we need to continuously improve ourselves, and that's where excellence comes in, that's where passion comes in, all the things we talked about. So I think, Vijay, I don't have full context of your question, so I can't answer that properly. My suggestion to Avinash is, Avinash, create a few mentors in the team that you have. You may already have it, but create a few mentors, senior people who can mentor the young folks, and they can understand the full context and answer their question in a more one-to-one way.
Absolutely.
That can help them. But if people who want to do something, so I don't know what work-life balance is in my life. Okay, I don't believe in that term. That's a bullshit term for people who are very average and will remain average in their life. I have worked with many successful people around the world. I do not find any successful person who's worried about work-life balance. I'm not saying other things not important. I left my whole career because of my mother's health. Okay, so I'm not saying that family is not important and all those things, but every day coming back at home at 6 o'clock and watching television is not work-life balance. That's complete bloody waste of time to take you to a very mediocre career. So work-life balance is you prioritize things and do whatever it is needed. If your child needs time, so be it. If your mother needs time, so be it. That's fine. Secondly, I think you wouldn't care about work-life balance if you enjoyed your work, right? I enjoy my work as much as I enjoy a game of golf. So whether I go to play golf or I work, I am fine. Either way, I am refreshed and so no problem. Now the problem is most people in the early stage want someone else's work. They are bored or they don't like their work, but they like somebody else's work. The problem is that doesn't happen. You need to do your job well first before you can go to the next level and the next level and the next level. So I think provide some mentors, Avinash, which can help the young team members navigate through their career. And but it's good to hear from this young engineer that they want to improve, they want to innovate, they want to do some extra things. That's the way to build career. That is the drive one needs to build a successful career and successful life.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So I think we have taken more than what you had planned for. And so I think we will wrap it up here. And on behalf of the team, thank you so much, sir. I think it really has charged all of us. I am feeling that charge again. And every time I talk to you, it happens. So it's happening again at this moment of time. And I'm sure each one of the person here attending would be feeling the same and will take that energy forward and do something different. So thank you so much. Thanks for giving this access to the knowledge directly. I'll come back to you whenever it's needed, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. And all the team members, you go to YouTube and
I'll forward that information, sir.
Yeah, and a lot of other things are there. So keep learning. Learning is absolute key for career growth and happiness in life. Enjoy, all the best. God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and happy Diwali in advance to you.
Yeah.
Yes. Happy Diwali.
Thank you, sir.
To all of you. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you, sir.